Everything we did revolved around sport, but it was about going out there and giving your best. But we also found our joy in sport, and that was a real connection piece for our family.
My earliest memories of Raelene would be us playing sport together. Highly competitive sport. She has a lot of grit and determination when she plays, and I think we've seen that play out in her career over the years.
The first big leap was her role with Netball New Zealand. She was the CEO when that game went professional, so what an incredible contribution to look back on.
Raelene's passionate about sport. She's passionate about the impact that sport can have on people's lives, and she's passionate about making people's lives better from high performance because of the fact that it uplifts spirits and makes New Zealanders feel proud. She's equally as passionate about making sure that children who don't otherwise have access to sport do get that access. She is very, very strong on relationships. They are the key and the centre of everything she does.
One of her real superpowers is to bring people to the table that maybe have different new views and then find a way for everyone to work together.
Raelene would be one of the most respected leaders in the sports sector. Raelene is also well recognised globally.
She has a big picture view of the world. As many people would describe her as a visionary. She can think about things that are evolving, not just this week, this month, or this year, but maybe next decade.
She really cares about people, and the work she does is about people and with people.
She's a good human. You know, she looks out for people. She treats anyone that comes into her world with the same kind of respect and curiosity.
It's difficult to catch Raelene relaxing, but you can guarantee there is a beach, a batch, a beanbag and a book. And quite often you'll find a glass of bubbles too.
Tonight's final award is presented by Elizabeth Buchanan from the Faculty of Business and Economics. Along with her business studies, Elizabeth has a rising cricket career. She represented New Zealand at the Under-19 Women's World Cup in Malaysia and has a contract with Auckland Hearts, Auckland's premier women's cricket team. Please welcome Elizabeth and distinguished alumna Raelene Castle.
Raelene, you are the daughter of two extraordinary athletes. Your dad, Bruce, captained the Kiwis. Your mum, Marlene, medalled 3 times in 3 Commonwealth Games and lawn bowls. What did they teach you about competition? I hate to think what ball games night was like at your place.
Yes, quite competitive. Actually, they're both here tonight, which is very special. It was that competing was important, preparing was important. You had to give it your best, but you also had to be very respectful of that environment. And it didn't matter where, how many competitions, but ensuring that you left all that you possibly could on the field or on the court. That was really important.
You were a representative level netball player, a tennis player, a New Zealand bowls champion yourself. What is the risk that moving your focus into the business of sport dilutes the love you have for the game?
Well, the fortunate thing is that it gives you completely the opposite opportunity, I think. I often say it's very nice to get paid to stand around the water cooler on any given Monday morning and analyse the weekend sports results. So the fact that you can actually live it every day, you can live your passion, but then you can really start to get in behind the scenes. You get to understand the people, the personalities, the trials, the tribulations, how genuinely difficult it is to be a high-performance athlete, how we we're dealing with the very 1% of the greatest New Zealanders, and the work that High Performance Sport New Zealand does to help those people be at that absolute level. So for me, it's been an absolute great honour to have been part of that journey for many athletes, but also supporting the great volunteers that are out in our environments, making and delivering great experiences for young people on any given, Saturday, Sunday or any day of the week.
2007, you were driving down the road, you had the car radio on, and in the news they said the CEO of Netball New Zealand had resigned. What did you do?
By about that end of that night, I'd made about 7 phone calls to people that I knew that were connected into that role, and having built up a network of relationships over a business career, I had some people that were connected and said, I feel like this is the job, and if I could get into the process and onto the list and maybe put my case forward, that would be a dream come true, to bring a business experience into a sport that was so loved by New Zealanders, would bring the best of my skill set together. And so to be able to have gone through that process, but importantly because of those connections, I managed to get into that process.
And to foster in that professional era, what did that mean for young women athletes in New Zealand in particular?
Well, it changed their lives. I mean, overnight, it literally changed their lives. And to have really in a team sport context, we had many Olympians that were making money, but for a team sport female athlete to have an opportunity to be able to be successful, to still study but actually get paid to travel trans-Tasman across Australia and New Zealand. And it's not just the players, it's the coaches, it's the physios, it's the doctors, it's the sports administrators, it's all of that ecosystem that grew so significantly over that time. A lot of people with a lot of dedicated passion to actually bring all those moving parts together, a broadcaster that stepped in and believed in women's sport. And suddenly if all of those different parts can see it, they can be it. And I think that was ultimately the piece that was so game-changing.
You've said something I really like, that you are not afraid to employ people who are much smarter than you, which I suspect has a degree of modesty attached, but is also very wise. It's an unusual thing for a leader to say out loud, though. Why do you do that?
Well, I don't think it should be unusual, because certainly as you get to these types of CEO roles, you can't be the specialist in everything that you're responsible for. So to have the people around you that are smarter than you, that are subject matter experts, that ultimately might replace you, that will be the next CEO, that's, in my experience, what good leaders look like. That's what good leadership looks like. So I was fortunate enough to observe that in some of the people that I worked with and in and around, and those are the types of people that I've tried to model my career on. And the job of the leader is to build the culture, to build the environment, to make sure that you can bring all those personalities together to maximise that group of people and make sure they can be successful together. You don't have to have all the answers. The team hopefully has all the answers.
You have been, in succession, the first female CEO of Netball New Zealand, the first female CEO of an NRL club, which I can imagine was a different experience, the first female CEO of Rugby Australia, and the first female CEO of Sport New Zealand. That is a remarkable pattern. But you have also said that you never explicitly set out to smash the patriarchy. So is the key to smashing the patriarchy not trying to smash the patriarchy?
Well, I didn't ever apply for the Bulldogs job because I thought, gee, the headline will be the first female CEO. I applied because it was a career step. I'd had a connection with rugby league through Dad for, all my life. It was a challenge. It was something that would be incredibly rewarding to have that opportunity. So that was the main reasons. I didn't think, gee, that will be the headline. So in some ways I find it surprising that people make it such a big deal. And the test is that suddenly for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, you're the first female CEO, and then suddenly that title disappears and you just end up being the CEO of the Canterbury-Bankstown Bulldogs. So that's really the test, that you've dropped that title of being female and you're just one of the other CEOs that's sitting around the tables.
I want to ask you about Rugby Australia. Your time ended there in 2020, I think. You oversaw the Israel Folau dismissal, which was one of the most divisive moments in Australian sport in a generation. Your own chairman, Paul McLean, said you had endured abhorrent treatment from a section of the rugby establishment who didn't want you there. You've spoken about death threats, you've spoken about the toll, and yet you've said that if you'd been told in advance that that is how hard it would be, you would still do it again. Why?
Because the positives so by far and away outweigh the negatives, and I think that the great people, the friends that you make, the opportunity to move an organisation forward. Unfortunately, sometimes the difficult times make the headlines, but as a leader, you also take so much out of those difficult times. You learn a lot. I never thought that I would end up being a case study in universities around the world, but that's what's happened. The Israel Folau saga has been looked at from one angle, another angle, a religious angle, a contractor angle, a social media angle, a professional athlete angle. There's so many learnings that, why wouldn't you challenge yourself to step into those trials and tribulations? So, for me, it was just one enormous adventure, and the fact that, yes, there were some tough times, but across all of my career in sport, by far and away, Greg and I have had amazing experiences and opportunities and made great friends. I feel incredibly honoured.
Yeah. I mean, it is a brave thing for anyone to put themselves in the position you put yourself in. I think for a lot of leaders, the easier thing would just be to hope that the headlines go away in a few days' time and not necessarily take a stand. Do you feel like you did the right thing?
Yes, because I think there was the short story is, end of the day, very simple. Employment contract, breached employment contract, have to stand up for the values of your organisation in that. At a different level, I'm a CEO, I have to provide a safe working environment. I think that's really important. And I absolutely believe deeply in equity and inclusion. And it's something that, throughout my own career, I've stood up for a lot because I just think it's the way society should be. And that was a moment where I could stand up for something I really believed in and stand up for it strongly. So, it was deeply challenging, the media, the press conferences, all of those things. But that wasn't the thing. It's the piece that how ultimately it will be viewed because of the stance that the organisation took.
You're on the right side of history, as it were. How do you deal with that stuff? How do you deal with that scrutiny? Do you have any tricks?
I do. Is largely don't read social media commentary.
100%.
And I was only talking to a group of young athletes during the week, and it's in some ways it's an amazing tool. At the other hand, no one said you have to go past the photo and actually look at the commentary. When you're dealing with a very significant issue, you need someone else to read it for you so that they're giving you a précis of what it means and what the indications are. But have a group of trusted advisors that do give you the truth, that do tell you when you've got something wrong, that you can go to for advice. Those are the people ultimately that will help you make good decisions. Trying to run a business through social media feedback is not something I'd advise. That might see you end up in a whole lot of difficult situations.
It occurs to me that being a kid today is really tough, but really, really difficult, in no small part because of social media. How important is sport in the lives of New Zealand kids today relative to when you were sparring off with your mum and dad and your brother?
I'm not sure it's that different, to be honest. I think the fundamentals of it still stay the same. It's community, it's engagement, it's a chance to prove yourself or test yourself in an environment. It's about how you feel positively in an environment where mental health is such a big challenge for our young people. They can go out for 30 minutes, an hour, whatever it is, and be disconnected from devices. They can actually be involved with their friends and having fun and enjoying environments and situations. So at a community level, we know the value of the health and wellness of it. It makes a fundamental difference into our communities right across New Zealand. And then when we see our New Zealanders be successful on the world stage, we're proud. We're proud New Zealanders. We like seeing that. And for a country that only has 5 million people, we end up 11th on the medal table and number 2 per head of population. I mean, that's extraordinary for a country that's very small. And it is what holds New Zealanders up. It's what politicians talk about as being one of the real positives for New Zealand.
Your friend Claudine says you are an amazing cook. Your brother, totally independently, having not talked with Claudine, says, quote, she's an incredible master chef. It was the thing that kept coming back in our research. But apparently you are one of these people who, if you've never tried a recipe before and you've got 10 people coming around for a dinner, says, you know what, I'm going to do the crock and boche tonight. Why would you do that? What does that say about your appetite for risk?
Probably quite a lot. I don't know. I'm fortunate to live in Auckland, I suppose, and that's my creative outlet. That's a way for me I enjoy feeding people and seeing the joy on their faces when they're having something, sitting around together, sharing kai, sharing a great glass of wine and sharing stories. And the worst case, if it doesn't work, you can Uber Eats. Right? Like, it's okay. It doesn't, sometimes it's okay.
Words to live by. Please join me in congratulating Raelene Castle.